Imagine waking up not to the sound of a gentle alarm or the singing of birds, but to the rhythmic, bone-shaking thud of a heavy cart hitting a loose paving stone 3 stories below your window. You don't open your eyes immediately. Instead, you breathe in. The air is thick, a heavy soup of wood smoke, roasting meat from the cookshop downstairs, and the unmistakable, sharp tang of several hundred people living in close quarters without indoor plumbing. This is your morning. This is your life in the beating, filthy, glorious heart of Rome. You are not a senator in a sprawling villa on the Palatine Hill. You are one of the hundreds of thousands who call an insula home. To the world, Rome is marble and gold, but to you, Rome is sun-baked brick, cracked plaster, and the constant, nagging fear that the roof might just give way before the sun sets. You roll off your thin sleeping mat, feeling the grit of the floor against your skin. The room is small, barely large enough for you and the 2 others who share this space. There is no window glass, only a wooden shutter that you push open to let in the gray light of dawn. As the shutter creaks, you look out over the Subura district. It's a canyon of brick. Across the narrow alley, perhaps only 6 feet away, another person is doing exactly what you are doing. You nod to a neighbor you've never spoken to, a woman shaking out a dusty tunic. Below you, the city is already screaming. Rome never truly sleeps, but at dawn, it changes gears. The heavy wagons that are banned during the day are making their final deliveries, their iron-rimmed wheels sparking against the basalt blocks of the street. You reach for your tunic, the wool scratchy and worn thin at the elbows. There is no sink to wash your face. If you want water, you have to work for it. You grab your clay pitcher and head for the door. As you step out into the corridor, the reality of the Insula hits you. These buildings are the skyscrapers of the ancient world, but they are built with a terrifying lack of precision. You live on the 4th floor. In Rome, the higher you live, the poorer you are. The ground floor is occupied by shops and perhaps a wealthy family in a spacious apartment with vaulted ceilings. But as you climb the narrow, winding wooden staircase, the air gets hotter, the ceilings get lower, and the walls get thinner. You feel the stairs groan under your weight. You've heard the stories, everyone has, of buildings simply folding in on themselves because the landlord used cheap mortar or added an extra floor against the city ordinances. You try not to think about that as you descend. The smell hits you harder on the 2nd floor landing. This is where the communal latrines are, if your building is fancy enough to have them. Most aren't. Most people use a bucket in their room and empty it into a vat at the bottom of the stairs, or, if they're feeling lazy and the streets are dark, they just toss it out the window. You step carefully around a puddle of questionable origin. Reaching the ground floor is a relief. The ceiling height doubles, and the walls are made of sturdy stone rather than the precarious timber and rubble framework of the upper tiers. You step out onto the street and are immediately swept into the human tide. The fountain is 3 blocks away. It's a social hub, a place of gossip and minor confrontations. You wait your turn among the slaves, the laborers, and the mothers, listening to the chatter. Someone is complaining about the price of grain. Someone else is whispering about a fire that broke out in the neighboring district last night. Fire is the great terror. In a city of wooden lofts and oil lamps, a single knocked-over candle can erase a block in an hour. You fill your pitcher, the water cool and metallic tasting, and begin the long trek back up. Every step is a reminder of your status. By the time you reach the 4th floor again, your calves are burning and you're already sweating. Breakfast is simple. There is no kitchen in your apartment. Cook inside is a death sentence for the building, though people do it anyway, on small charcoal braziers. You break off a piece of hard, coarse bread you bought yesterday. It's dry, so you dip it into a small bowl of sour wine to soften it. This is the fuel of the Roman Empire. As you eat, you look around your living space. It's functional, nothing more. A few bronze hooks on the wall for your belongings, a small wooden chest with a temperamental lock, and an oil lamp sitting on a tripod. The walls were once painted a dull red, but the pigment is flaking away, revealing the gray, sandy mortar beneath. You can hear your neighbors through the wall. To your left, a weaver's loom is already thumping. To your right, a couple is arguing about money. In an insula, privacy is a luxury that doesn't exist. You know the rhythm of their lives as well as your own. By mid-morning, the heat begins to rise. The brick walls of the insula act like an oven, soaking up the Mediterranean sun and radiating it inward. You decide to head out. No one stays in their apartment during the day if they can help it. The rooms are too dark, too cramped, and too hot. The street is your real living room. As you descend the stairs again, you pass the landlord's agent. He's a man with a sharp face and a ledger, followed by two burly men. They are here to collect rent or evict those who haven't paid. You keep your head down. In Rome, the law favors the man with the most stone. If your ceiling leaks or your floor sags, the landlord might fix it, or he might just wait for the building to fall down so he can build a new one with the insurance money. You've seen it happen. You've seen the ruins of collapsed insulae left like jagged teeth in the skyline. You spend your midday in the shadow of the great monuments. You walk past the Forum, where the white marble is so bright it hurts your eyes. It's a strange contrast, living in a crumbling box of shadows, while just a few hundred yards away, the temples of the gods are encased in gold. You find work where you can, perhaps carrying crates at the docks or running messages for a merchant. By the time the sun begins to dip, you are exhausted. You head to the public baths, not just to get clean, but to feel human. For a few copper coins, you can sit in the steam and pretend for an hour that you aren't living on the edge of a disaster. Returning to the insula in the evening is a different experience. The streets are narrower in the shadows. The shops are closing their heavy wooden shutters, locking them with thick iron bars. The cook shops are doing a roaring trade. Since you have no kitchen, you join the queue at a local thermopolium. You buy a bowl of lentil stew flavored with garum, that pungent fermented fish sauce that Romans love. You eat it standing up, watching the light fade. The air is cooling, but the smell of the city is intensifying. It's the smell of a million lives overlapping. Climbing the stairs at night is a test of memory and touch. There are no lights in the corridors. You feel your way along the damp walls, listening to the sounds of the building settling. It creaks like a ship at sea. You reach your door and light your small oil lamp. The flame is tiny, casting long, dancing shadows that make the cracks in the walls look like reaching fingers. You sit by the window for a moment. The city below is a sea of darkness, punctuated by the torches of the night watch, the vigiles. You see them patrolling, their buckets and hooks ready. They are the only thing standing between the city and total incineration. You hear a sudden, loud crack from somewhere above you. You freeze. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Was that just the wood expanding? Or was it a structural beam finally giving up? You wait, held in a tense silence. A few seconds pass. A dog barks in the distance. A neighbor coughs. The building holds, for now. You realize you've been holding your breath and let it out in a long, shaky sigh. This is the underlying tension of your entire existence. You live in a masterpiece of engineering that was built by the lowest bidder. You prepare for bed, which simply means laying your cloak over your mat. The noise from the street has changed. Now it's the sound of the heavy transport wagons again, the lifeblood of the city, bringing in the grain and the stone needed to keep the empire running. They rumble past, making the floorboards beneath you vibrate. You lie there, looking up at the dark ceiling. You think about the sheer scale of this place. There are thousands of buildings just like this one, packed with people just like you, all dreaming, struggling, and surviving in the shadow of the Caesars. The air in the room is stale, but you're too tired to care. You listen to the city. You hear a flute playing somewhere far off, a haunting, thin melody that drifts through the maze of alleys. You hear the shouts of a drunken group of youths stumbling home. You hear the constant, low-frequency hum of a million people breathing. It's a symphony of the mundane and the magnificent. You are a tiny part of the greatest city on earth, a city that is as fragile as it is eternal. As sleep finally begins to pull at you, you feel a strange sense of pride. You survived another day in the Insula. You navigated the stairs, you found your water, you earned your bread, and you didn't get crushed by a falling wall. In Rome, that is a victory. The floorboards groan one last time as you roll onto your side. Tomorrow, the sun will rise, the carts will clatter, the landlord will knock, and you will do it all over again. You close your eyes, and the darkness of the Roman night swallows the room, leaving only the distant, rhythmic pulse of the city that never sleeps, echoing through the thin, precarious walls of your home. The night deepens, and the temperature in your small room finally drops to something manageable. But with the silence of the building comes the heightened sounds of the street. You can hear the vigiles on their rounds, their heavy sandals striking the stones in a synchronized beat. They are the fire brigade and the police rolled into one, and their presence is a comfort, even if you know they'd be more likely to pull down your building to save a wealthier one nearby if a fire ever broke out. You think about the stories your grandfather told you about the Great Fire under Nero, how the sky turned orange for 6 days, and the wind itself seemed to be made of flames. It's a ghost story that every Roman child grows up with, a reminder that your home is essentially a giant pile of tinder. You shift on your mat, trying to find a spot where the floorboards don't dig into your hip. Through the thin wall, you hear the weaver finally stop his loom. The sudden silence is jarring. Then, a baby starts crying 2 floors down. The sound travels up the light well, echoing and amplifying until it sounds like the child is in the room with you. You don't get angry, you just wait. Eventually, the crying turns into a soft whimpering and then fades away. This is the intimacy of the poor. You know the coughs of the elderly man on the 3rd floor, the laughter of the sisters who live in the cellar, and the rhythmic snoring of the porter who sleeps under the stairs. You are all woven together in this vertical village. Your thoughts drift to the structure of the building itself. You remember seeing a new insula being built a few streets over. They used opus cementitium, Roman concrete, for the foundation, but as the walls rose, the quality seemed to drop. They used opus craticium, a cheap technique of wooden frames filled with rubble and plaster. It's light, which allows them to build higher, but it's also incredibly flammable and prone to rotting. You wonder how much of your own walls are made of that stuff. You remember seeing a crack in the exterior plaster near the entrance, wide enough to fit a finger into. The landlord had simply painted over it. A sudden shout from the street jerks you back toward wakefulness. Someone is arguing with a wagon driver. There's a crash of wood, the sound of something heavy spilling onto the pavement, and a string of creative Roman curses that make you smile, despite your exhaustion. The city is so alive, so aggressive in its existence. It's a place of immense cruelty and sudden, breathtaking beauty. You think of the fountains you saw today, the way the water caught the light, and the smell of the pine trees on the hills where the rich live. Their world is so close, yet it might as well be on the moon. You reach out and touch the wall beside you. It's cool now and slightly damp. There's a certain comfort in its solidity, however illusory that might be. You think about the millions of people who have lived in rooms exactly like this one, back through the generations. Rome has been growing for centuries, piling house upon house, story upon story. You are living on top of history. Beneath this building are the ruins of an older one, and beneath that, perhaps the remains of a wooden hut from the days of the kings. The city is a living thing, constantly shedding its skin and regrowing it. The wagons outside seem to be increasing in number. The annona, the grain supply, must be coming in from the port at Ostia. Without those wagons, the city would starve in weeks. You are part of a machine so vast it's impossible to fully comprehend. Your little room, your pitcher of water, your dry bread, they are all tiny cogs in the imperial engine. It's a humbling thought, but also a reassuring one. You aren't alone in your struggle. Every window you see from your own is a mirror of your life. You find yourself staring at the small oil lamp, now extinguished, its scent of burnt olive oil lingering in the air. That smell is the scent of the Roman night. It's the smell of study for the scholar, of secret meetings for the conspirator, and of simple rest for the laborer. You feel a sense of gratitude for that tiny flame. It's a small victory against the overwhelming darkness of the world. The first hint of a pre-dawn chill begins to creep into the room. You pull your wool cloak tighter around your shoulders. In a few hours, the cycle will begin again. The weaver will start his loom, the water carriers will crowd the fountains, and the landlord's agent will resume his predatory walk through the corridors. But for now, in this suspended moment between the carts of the night and the cries of the morning, there is peace. The building is still standing. The roof is overhead. The floor is beneath you. You think about the future, though you try not to do it often. Maybe you'll save enough to move down to the third floor, where the ceilings are higher and the air is a little fresher. Or maybe you'll find a way out of the city altogether, to a small farm where the only noise is the wind in the wheat. But as you listen to the distant, muffled roar of Rome, you realize that you'd miss this. You'd miss the energy, the chaos, and the feeling of being at the center of the universe. Even here, in a cramped, dangerous room in a crumbling apartment block, you are a Roman. The vibration of a particularly heavy wagon rolls through the floorboards, a gentle shaking that feels almost like a heartbeat. You close your eyes and let it carry you towards sleep. The fear of the fire and the collapse fades into the background, replaced by the heavy, rhythmic breathing of your roommates. The Insula, with all its flaws and dangers, is your fortress. It's a place of survival, a testament to the endurance of the common person in the face of an indifferent empire. As your consciousness finally slips away, the last thing you hear is the distant chime of a hammer on an anvil. Someone, somewhere in the dark city, is already starting their day's work. The fire is being lit in a forge. The first loaves are being placed in an oven, and the eternal city is preparing to wake up once more. You drift off, nestled in the heart of the hive, ready to face the challenges of the morning, secure in the knowledge that you are part of something that will outlast even the stones of the building you call home. The gray light begins to bleed through the cracks in the shutters, signaling the end of the night. It's a slow transition, the shadows stretching and then dissolving as the sun touches the tops of the taller buildings. You don't wake up yet, but your body senses the change. The air is getting heavier again, the first hints of wood smoke starting to drift up from the lower floors. The first birds, the city-dwelling pigeons, begin to coo on the windowsills, their soft sounds a stark contrast to the iron wheels on the street. In your dreams, the city is a labyrinth of marble, but in your reality, it's a labyrinth of people. You move through the crowds, you climb the stairs, you navigate the smells and the sounds with the instinct of a creature born to this environment. You are a product of the Insula, hardened by its stairs, sharpened by its proximity to others, and made resilient by its constant threats. The weaver's loom gives its first, tentative thump of the day. It's the signal. Your eyes snap open. The grit is still on the floor, the air is still thick, and the pitcher is empty. You sit up, rubbing the sleep from your eyes, and look at the wooden shutter. You know what's on the other side. You know the noise, the heat, and the struggle that awaits. But you also know the life, the vibrance, and the sheer, unyielding power of the city. You reach for your tunic, stand up, and prepare to descend into the world once more. Another day in Rome has begun, and you are ready to meet it. You walk to the window and push the shutter open. The light is brighter now, hitting the brickwork of the building across the way. You see the woman from yesterday, already at her window, already shaking out her tunic. You nod to her again, a silent acknowledgement of your shared existence. Below, The street is a river of people, a chaotic, swirling mass of humanity heading to work, to the markets, to the temples. The smell of frying dough wafts up from the street-side stall, making your stomach growl. It's a new day, full of the same old dangers and the same old possibilities. You turn away from the window, grab your pitcher, and head for the door. The stairs are waiting, the fountain is waiting, and Rome is waiting. You step out into the corridor, the wooden floor groaning under your first step, and begin the long walk down to the heart of the world.
If you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe button for more.